Okay, you're live.
Really? Ah, well, yes. So there it is.
The stunning preliminary to the video of Potter Larry.
Oh, it looks like I've... Ah, well, yes. So there it is.
The stunning preliminary.
There's a delay between it, but...
Yes.
There's a delay between it, but...
Yes.
Hi. I don't know if this is going or not. Please let me know if it is. First time I've been doing a Facebook Live, and we will see how it goes. Whee! Tonight I'm going to show how and why potters like myself, Larry Seating, Gilles Bear, how and why we wedge clay. The wedging of the clay is a necessary thing for prepping the clay before we throw it, whether we make slabs or we throw it on a wheel. It's to get air out of the clay and to homogenize it into a uniform consistency and moisture level throughout the body of the clay that we're working with. I will try to do my best to talk and engage while I'm doing this. Not easy. And I've got some clay here from a class that was done at St. Val Day and Valentine's Day Massacre. And there's some clay that was returned that have air pockets in it. To remove these air pockets, we need to smush it all together, wedge it up, and make it not have air. A couple of the ways that we can do that is by doing what's called ram's head kneading, and it's where we're taking the clay and pushing it down and away from us, and pushing the clay down through itself to work out air bubbles that may be trapped inside of it. What this does is, as we push down, it moves clay through and makes it get rid of air bubbles or stones if you have small stones in it. If you're working with a very raw clay that you've dug and made yourself. Ram's head, because looks kind of like a ram's head or a tiki or something, who knows, but normally what you want to do is press and roll the clay through 50 to 100 times, depends on the clay, how much air it has in it, how much of a mess it is.
Does it depend on the size of the the amount of the clay that you're working with?
Yeah, there are different ways to work the clay. For smaller pieces, for me, this is convenient working with the ram's head form. Give it a 90-degree turn and work it again. One of the other ways is simply referred to as cut and slam. I'll be showing that in a few minutes here. And then there's another technique that I need to learn yet. It's called spiral wedging, spiral kneading. Very much preferred by a lot of potters on larger amounts. And it's one of those techniques that takes time to learn and is not really good to start off with as a beginner unless you have somebody there to work with you, show you proper hand position all the time until you get it to where you're starting to get the form for the spiral wedging. This is a workout. Instead of using just the shoulders and the upper body, you want to do kind of a rocking motion with your entire body, pushing down through your forearms into your hands into the clay. Now this, I would not start throwing. I need to work it more to get these spirals out of it that I put in. And to do that, I have to press inwards with my hands as I'm pushing down. At the last stages of gathering up the clay. I just saw that my son put a comment up that says, "Hi, Grandpa," which is probably from my granddaughter since it's her birthday today too. Unfortunately, because of having to stay at home, because of everything that's going on, she couldn't have her birthday party today and she's a little upset about that. I don't blame her. 8-year-olds are like that. This is something I could start with on the wheel. I may still have an air bubble or two in it, but you work with those when you get to them. Blah. When you buy clay from a commercial, you get it in 25-pound, usually 25-pound bags. There it is. And it's come out of a big, giant extruding machine. Chunk after chunk after chunk after chunk. And it doesn't have any air in it. You can cut it off. And depending on what you're doing, you can use it right straight from the wheel, or from the lump at that point. But if you're throwing on a wheel, the square doesn't work too well. And not being fortunate to have a pug mill, which is a machine for mixing and extruding clay in a cylindrical chub, you have to work the clay out by hand. What I'm going to do now is the slam and cut wedging. Whee! Red iron clays always look like a murder scene.
So why are you putting the two different colors together in this case?
To help show what's going on, and to get either wedge it down enough to get so I can use it for throwing spiral or agate ware, or to make a color that has the properties of both the light clay and the dark clay. These are both very similar clays, very similar textures, fired at the same temperature in the kiln. At one point it kind of looks like a piece of marbled meat. I'll make it public, Paula, after I'm done with this. Right now my hands are full of mess and Helen is holding the phone for me.
Show us the inside.
So far, and there's no air bubbles that we can see, and that's kind of one of the nice things about the properties of doing this type of wedging. Whee! Tonight is actually the first time I have used my plaster table here for what I built it for. Up until now, it's just been a collect-all of what can I put on it to get out of my way so I can make things. Just chuckling at a couple of the comments that I can see. And the more we mix it, the thinner and more homogeneous the layers get.
You don't want to mix it too much, otherwise it'll just be all one
Right.
color.
And there are times that you want to do that. Take two clays and mix them into one. In this case, I'll probably give it one or two more cuts and then set it aside and use it to throw something Thursday night. Ooh. I think that's where I'm going to stop with this so that I can have some nice variegation in it when I go to throw it. I'll probably make 2 or 3 throwing lumps out of this, cut it in half or thirds, and throw 2 or 3 different vessels and see what they look like. And that's what I'll be doing Thursday night, is making some vessels, showing what centering is, pulling the form up, and just a general demonstration of throwing pottery on a wheel.
You're going to show how to make some lumps here?
Well, yeah, there is that.
Heloise says you should throw off the hump.
Of course Heloise says I should throw off the hump. I could probably do that too. Demonstration of throwing off the hump as well as from 1 or 2 pieces thrown on the wheel separately. Hi, Aunt Judy. one of the other things is, no two potters do anything the same. There might be similarities, but so far as I can tell, everybody is extremely individualistic in how they do things. And it's just because of the way your body is set, or your shop is set up, or how you've learned to do things, or modified because of injuries or age.
So talk about what you're doing here, the process of making lumps. You're just making a lump of clay.
Yeah, this lump of clay is probably 1.25 pounds. Pound and a quarter. We'll see what it is. See how far off I am. 1 pound 4 ounces. The rest of this is 2.8 pounds. And each of these, there's a variety of things you can make with various sizes. All depends on what you're looking to make. Beakers, bowls, plates, cups, funky throne statuary. And this one has some air bubbles in the middle that I put into it. You can see one right here, which, you know, and this is from the cuttings, but that would come out in the throwing, or it would create a lump, an air pocket in the clay, depending on where it was at when you were throwing it, and potentially cause problems. Either what's called bloating, which is a big blister in the clay, because as you heat it up, the moisture that's in the clay expands. And if there's an air pocket, moisture will get into that air pocket and expand that air pocket. If your temperature climb is slow enough, it won't necessarily explode, but you will have this big old lump on the side of your cup or plate or whatever you were throwing that will make it unique, is one word. Some people don't like them and will break those pieces apart and not use them. And this time I got it clean through there. Yeah, it's still got a little air pocket in there. Huh. It happens. It's just part of the process of making pottery, working with clay. I have tried a couple times watching some of the other potters out there on YouTube on how to do spiral wedging, and I'll get it one of these days. It just takes time. No, I'm not going to try it here because no.
Do lumps have to be any particular shape, or should they be round to start, or?
Roundish or conical, depends on the size of the lump and what you're comfortable working with. You can start off with this form once you get it on the wheel, and I can show that Thursday night. You can sit there and pat it to center it, and also make it into more of a cone form, and then start throwing. What you will do is you will press the clay in at the bottom, pull up, and then push back down. It's called centering the clay. When I'm on the wheel, you'll see a better example of what it does and what it is. So for tonight, unless Mr. Selleck can think of any other questions, I am going to say that we are. And does anybody who's watching have any questions? I do have have the feed up on my laptop so I can see the questions. This will be available shortly, and I'll make sure that it is public. And we will expand on how to make pottery Thursday night.
Heloise says you're all good.
So, Everyone have a good night, stay safe, and have fun making whatever it is that you make. Thank you. Good night.
Heloise has a question. What is your
Oh.
wedging slab made out of and why?
Oh, well, just in time. Wedging slab here is made out of plaster. It is a porous material that will pull moisture out of clay and let it evaporate, let that moisture evaporate. We can use it either to wedge our clay on, or we can use the wedging slab to lay out some of our slop, leftovers from previous throwings that need to be, wet down, mixed up, and then we lay them out, dry them, turn them, dry them several times, and make them back into workable clay. I have far too many buckets of slop sitting around that I need to work on, and that's one of my other projects and one of the things that this table is going to be used for, because I've got some cement blocks over here on my workbench that I can do wedging on. You can use plaster, you can use cement board backer board for tile works, 3/4 inch, half inch or 3/4 inch pieces of drywall you can use to wedge your clay on, work on. You can do it on wood. In period, a lot of it was done on wood, because that's what they had. So, making pottery. Dirty, dirty job, but to be really, really fun. These were those, that raku clay from Valde that I wedged up a little while ago. Several pieces that had air pockets in them, so. Yay! Oh, look, I'm going to add some air into it. Whack! This is stiffened up just a little bit. It's not bad. But it's also got in it what's called grog, which is ground up material to give it strength and reduce the amount of shrinkage, or to increase the thermal shock resistance. One of the other things I will probably be doing later this spring is a raku firing demo, since the Metal and Glass Symposium has been postponed. We'll still be going there should they get that rescheduled, but I figure sometime in the spring I will do another one out here in my driveway, showing the firing process and the reduction process. We got big, big mice upstairs. Named Topaz, Betty, Bouncer. Yeah, we name our mice. And through the wedging process, any of the air that was in there is mostly gone. I'll just keep these as two separate pieces and use them for another day. Sorry, I've whacked my little finger on the plaster and made it sore, kind of like slamming it in the door. And that is tonight's demonstration of kneading and wedging clay. Hope you've enjoyed it. Leave feedback, leave comments. talk to me at an event sometime, or just send me IMs if you have other questions, and I'll do what I can to answer them. Have a good night. Good night.